Hey, what's up guys? Hardleg Joe here with the What a Deck profile for the Red Eyes Fusion Turbo deck. Just going to go through everything in here and then I'll explain how it works. So for monsters, we're playing 3 Red Eyes Black Dragon, 1 Summoned Skull, 3 Red Eyes Black Flare Dragon, 3 Red Eyes Toon Dragon, and 2 Meteor Dragon Red Eyes Impact. For spells, we're playing 3 Red Eyes Fusion, 3 Return of the Dragon Lords, 3 cards of Red Stone, 3 Dragon's Mirror, 3 Red Eyes Insight, and 3 Twin Twisters. For traps, we're playing 3 Time Space Trap Hole, 1 Red Eyes Spirit, 3 Call the Haunted, and 3 Paradox Fusion. The extra deck has 1 5-headed dragon, 2 Archfiend Black Skull Dragons, 2 Firsts of the Dragons, 2 Meteor Black Comet Dragons, 2 Red Eyes Flare Metal Dragon, 1 number 74 Master of Blades, 1 Draco Sack, 1 Gaia Dragon the Thunder Charger, 1 Big Eye, 1 Lucky 7, and 1 Utopia Beyond. The side deck I'll go over in a little bit. So the point of this deck is to fusion and fusion hard. Our 2 main cards are Meteor Black Comet Dragon and Archfiend Black Skull Dragon. Meteor has 3,500 attack. It's 1 level 7 Red Eyes monster and 1 level 6 Dragon type monster, which means you're going to use this Meteor Dragon and any of your Red Eyes, including the Toon Red Eyes. When this is fusion summoned, you send 1 Red Eyes monster from your hand or deck to the graveyard and inflict damage to your opponent equal to half of its attack. If this card in the monster zone is sent to the graveyard, target 1 normal monster in your graveyard and special summon it. So normally with this deck, you actually want to go first because we play a lot of traps, and it helps to establish the board before they have anything. A lot of people have trouble getting over 3,500, and if they do happen to destroy this either by battle or by card effect, you're summoning one of your Red Eyes out of the graveyard, of which you'll have a lot because you'll need at least 1 to make it, plus you're sending 1 with its effect. Our other boss monster here, Archfiend Black Skull Dragon, is 1 level 6 Archfiend normal monster, which is your Summoned Skull, always treated as an Archfiend card, and 1 Red Eyes normal monster, which should be fairly self-explanatory. This card has a steamroller effect. When it attacks, your opponent can't activate cards or effects, and with 3,200 it can get over just about everything. And then at the end of the battle phase, after it attacks, you can target 1 Red Eyes normal monster in graveyard, inflict damage to your opponent equal to its attack, and then shuffle it back into the deck. So you're going to not only attack them for 3,200, but you're going to deal 2,400 burn damage, even if you're attacking into something face down. Now to get both of these out, you're going to be playing Red Eyes Fusion. This lets you fusion summon 1 monster that lists Red Eyes as material for using monsters from your hand, deck, or side of the field. The most important part being from your deck. That's why we can get away with only playing 1 Summoned Skull and only 2 Meteor Dragons, because you're going to be able to use them from the deck. You actually don't want these in your hand for the most part. Of course, you can only use 1 of these per turn, and you can't summon other monsters the turn you use this, but that's why we play things like Red Eyes Spirit and Call the Haunted. This will let you summon a Red Eyes monster from your graveyard, while this will let you summon any monster in your graveyard. So during your opponent's turn, during their end phase, you can summon out the materials that you use for these, usually your Black Flare Dragon, but occasionally Summoned Skull because it has slightly more attack with 2,500. But you'll be able to summon those during your opponent's turn. If they don't do anything, you can even summon them during the end phase and then use another Red Eyes Fusion during their turn. And that's most of this deck, is just beating down with these 2. Everything else in here kind of facilitates that, or is just a couple like little tech cards. For example, we're running this Dragon's Mirror. This lets you banish from your side of the field or graveyard fusion materials for a Dragon-type fusion monster. And all of our things in here are dragons, which means if you use Red Eyes Fusion to summon this, the material will be in the graveyard. You can banish it next turn with Dragon's Mirror to summon another one. Dragon's Mirror is also how you summon things like First of the Dragons and 5-headed Dragon. 5-headed Dragon just has 5,000 attack. It takes 5 Dragon-type monsters. Really good beat stick just for getting over pretty much everything or attacking from game if you've already got one of these and you can destroy their monster. This card also has the effect that it can't be destroyed by battle with an Earth, Water, Wind, Fire, or Dark monster, which is not really all that relevant. Very few things are going to be able to get over 5,000 attack. The only thing that I could think of that would even be able to crash into it would be Utopia the Lightning, which is a light monster anyway, the one type of monster that can defeat this. We're also playing First of the Dragon. This is any 2 normal monsters. We're playing the 3 normal monsters here, plus Summoned Skull, plus these 2 Geminis that count as normal monsters in the graveyard. Not in the deck, though, which is important to remember. If you're using Red Eyes Fusion, you cannot use one of your Geminis to fuse Archfiend Black Skull Dragon. It has to be this one that's normal monsters, because these are not normal monsters in the deck, just on the fields and graveyard. But anyway, if you get them into the graveyard, then you can use First of the Dragons. This card is unaffected by monster effects and can't be destroyed by battle with effect monsters, which a lot of people really don't have an out to it. Unless they've got Raigeki or Dark Hole, this thing is damn near invincible, especially against something like Zodiacs that relies on monster effects. they have a really tough time getting over this. So other than that, we've got a couple search/draw cards. We've got Cards of Red Stone. This will let you send one level 7 Red Eyes monster from your hand to the graveyard to draw 2 cards. And then if you want, you can also send a level 7 Red Eyes from your deck to the graveyard. So you're filling up your graveyard really good, because again, you don't really want these in your hand. They're only good in your hand to use as Cards of Red Stone, and you'll inevitably end up with at least one. So it's good to have this as the discard fodder. We've also got Red Eyes Insight. This will let you send one Red Eyes monster from your hand or deck to the graveyard to add one Red Eyes Spell Trap from your deck to your hand. Most notably, Red Eyes Fusion. So this will search this out. You're essentially running 6 copies of Red Eyes Fusion because you have this. And if you happen to use all 3 of these, we've also got this Red Eyes Spirit. That's why we're just playing it as a one-of. It's not quite as good as Call of the Haunted, because it can't get out your big fusion monsters. But it's at least searchable, so that way it won't be a dead card. And it's chainable, so if they MST it, you can just summon out your dragon, and your dragon will stay there. This isn't continuous like Call of the Haunted is. Other than that, we're playing Twin Twister to get rid of your spell traps, and also, again, to discard these dragons in your hand, because we have no way to normal summon these. These are all just about using them from the graveyard. We're playing Call of the Haunted and Return of the Dragon Lords. Return of the Dragon Lords will let you get any of your main deck monsters out of the graveyard, while Call of the Haunted will let you summon just about everything except for First of the Dragons, which can only be fusion summoned and can't be special summoned other ways. But these can both be summoned back onto the field with Call of the Haunted. Return of the Dragon Lords, of course, is also a little bit of protection. You can banish it from the graveyard to stop any of your dragons from being destroyed once, which is always neat, which means you can also discard it for Twin Twisters if need be. Finally, we're also playing Time-Space Trap Hole and Paradox Fusion. Time-Space Trap Hole, just a little bit of defense. Really, I just wanted something, a little bit of disruption. Oftentimes we end up going first so we can establish a field. And really, if you could just stop one play, if you can just stun them for one turn, you're usually able to get enough damage on board by turn 2 to just OTK them outright. I went for Time-Space Trap Hole just because it's not seen very often. If you're trying to play this more competitively, you could go for Solemn Warning or Torrential Tribute, more of your one-ofs. Alternatively, in the side deck, I play the Raigeki and the 2 Dark Holes. This is what I had in here originally, just because I was going second more. But if you're going first, this is probably the better choice. But both of them will work. Both of them have the same effect. You clear the field, and then you attack for massive amounts of damage. Paradox Fusion, meanwhile, is just a not very often seen counter trap. Lets you activate by removing one face-up fusion monster you control from play, negate the activation of a spell, trap, or the special summon of a monster, and destroy that card. And then during the second end phase, you return that fusion monster back to the field. This is really good for, like, if you make your Meteor Black Comet Dragon, and they summon like a Castell or a 101, you're going to lose your monster anyway. But at least this way, you'll negate the summon, and your monster will come back in 2 turns. Also, I'm not sure if this is the way it's supposed to work, because it says negate the summon of a monster, but I've used this in YGOPro to negate pendulum summons, which, again, kind of like Time-Space Trap Hole, if you could just disrupt your opponent's play entirely, if they try to summon 4 monsters or a Kieran, and you negate the summon, then it doesn't really matter if you've got nothing on board that field, or that turn. They're not going to be able to do anything anyway. I think that just about covers it. Most of the main deck monsters are just normal monsters. You're generally only going to be summoning this Red Eyes Black Flare Dragon. This is a Gemini monster, which if you're unfamiliar with, it's during your main phase you can give up your normal summon in order to turn this into an effect monster. And its effect is, if you battled with it this turn, you can inflict damage equal to its original attack, so 2400 damage, which is just a ludicrous amount of burn damage when piled upon this thing, which is also doing 2400, or this, which can burn you for 12. Generally, the tactic with this is to summon a big fusion monster, and then next turn you're either going to be using Dragon's Mirror, or you just call the Haunted, Return of the Dragon Lords to get this out, and deal massive amounts of damage in one turn. The rest of your monsters, like I said, are mostly just beat sticks and fodder. You'd never want to summon them for the most part, unless you're going to be going into an Ixie play. If you happen to get Return of the Dragon Lords and Call the Haunted, or 2 copies, you can make things like Red Eyes Flare Metal Dragon, who's going to be doing a lot of burn damage and can't be destroyed by card effects, or Big Eye, which lets you steal monsters. These other ones I've never really made. You could really fill the deck in with whatever you want. I play the one rank 6 just in case I happen to get a Summoned Skull and a Red Eyes Meteor Dragon out here, but I've yet to get both of them out on the field at the same time. But just in case, just in case shit happens. As for the rest of the side deck, the only things that I would really consider running is maybe more Red Eyes Spirit, more Forbidden Chalice. If they don't have spell traps, you can get rid of your Twin Twisters, or if they have a lot of spell trap removal, Red Eyes Spirit can be better than Call the Haunted in some cases. I mean, like I said, Call the Haunted can get this guy back out, but if they're going to be MSTing or Twin Twistering it every time, it's probably better to just use Red Eye's Spirit, so at least you get a monster on board. Pot of Acquisitiveness, again, can be kind of decent just because you're banishing cards with Dragon's Mirror. It doesn't happen a lot, so it's not reliable draw power, but if you're playing a deck that does banish things already, that can be good. The rest of these are just sort of like alternate options. If you really wanted to go cheese turbo, you can play the Claw of Hermos along with Red Eye's Dragon Sword. You can summon this with the Claw of Hermos by sending a Dragon-type monster from your side of the field or your hand, which will get rid of some of the stuff in your hand. To summon out this, it's just a 2400 attack point monster, but if you already control a monster, you can equip this to that monster, and it'll give a 1000 attack plus 500 for every Dragon-type monster on the field and in the graveyard, which with how many monsters we put in the graveyard can be pretty ridiculous. You can actually OTK using like Archfiend Black Skull Dragon in this, but it's even less consistent than this already is. Plus, in general, I find OTK decks not as fun to watch, although at least they win sometimes. We're also got Dragon Shrine in here. This will let you dump more monsters into the graveyard, again, if you just want to make sure that you never get them in your hand. I was playing this here originally, but I ended up in situations where I put so many cards in the graveyard that Red Eye's Fusion wasn't working. I found it was better just to run very few monsters to begin with and hope that you don't get them in the hand. Keep them in the deck to use for Red Eye's Fusion. If you are running Dragon Shrine, though, Archbrave Dragon can be pretty good. This is during the end phase of the turn it was sent to the graveyard. You can summon one Dragon-type monster, level 7 or 8, from your graveyard. So this will let you get some of your Red Eyes back out of there. And it's also good fodder for things like Twin Twister and stuff like that if you really want to run it. Red Eye's Darkness Metal Dragon. I never really had a dragon on the field that I wanted to banish in order to summon this. Usually I just had the fusions on the field, but you could run this if you want to. And just another copy of Summoned Skull if you want to focus more on Archfiend Skull Dragon. If you're going to go with the Black Dragon Sword, you'll probably want to take out one of these Meteor Dragons and put Summoned Skull in instead. So there you go, not the best Red Eyes deck, maybe not even a good Red Eyes deck necessarily. It's pretty linear, it's a sharp change from what I was doing last week with Crystron's, but when it works, it works. Hopefully you guys enjoy it. Next time, I'll be looking at some Ancient Gears, perhaps, or maybe Predator Plants, it depends. I have a poll on the Patreon going right now, but it's looking like Ancient Gears. We'll see, you'll find out for sure next week. Until then, good luck, have fun.